overseas designs, such as dragons, moths, and so on. Even Dame Patty, Australia's challenger for the 1967 America's Cup races, though designed and built in Australia, conforms to an international rating. But these 18-foot open skiffs with unrestricted sail area have been wholly evolved in Australia. Incidentally, when they get up to plane on a run, the 18s can easily pass Dame Patty for all her size. This fast, spectacular type of racing started in Sydney in the 1890s. The 18-footer developed from the old 6, 14 and 22-foot dinghies of that time. Captain Joshua Slocum, the first man to circumnavigate the globe single-handed, mentioned these craft in his famous book, Sailing Alone Around the World, when describing his arrival in Sydney in the summer of 1896 in his wonderful old boat, Spray.
In Sydney, I saw all manner of craft. Everybody has a boat. If a boy in Australia has not the means to buy him a boat, he builds one, and it's usually not one to be ashamed of. The typical Sydney boat is a handy sloop of great beam and enormous sail-carrying power. But a capsize is not uncommon, for they carry sail like Vikings.
After the First World War, the 18-footers steadily developed without any major changes till the early 30s, when the shaped heel was discarded from the hull and the boats became the skimming dish shape they are today. In the 30s too, the first Bermudan sail was used on an 18-footer. It was set on a 50-foot mast on the boat Arrawatta. By its help, Arrawatta became Australian champion and so spelt the beginning of the end for the old gaff and gunter rigs. Today, the boats, though faster than ever, only have about half the old sail area and are handled by only 4 men, including the skipper. A few crews have been experimenting with only 3 men, but it isn't really enough. The other pair of hands is badly missed when you have to handle gear extremely rapidly, as in jibing, for example. Simpler rigging and trapezes have made such small crews possible. Trapezes allow the righting force of the human ballast to be exerted well outside the boat, where the weight of each man counts far more. Lightweight crews mean lightweight boats, which can be carried with ease. A few exceptionally gifted skippers actually design and build their own boats, starting with a half model. The first few attempts are often discarded before the skipper succeeds in shaping one that just might do. In every spare moment, he works on his creation till he hopes he's achieved the ultimate in hull forms. He dreams of a boat that will point well in light or heavy weather, one that will go to windward in half a gale and flex to the seas without cracking any timbers. She will run fast in light airs and faster in a hard nor'easter. In fact, behave with the impossible perfection of a dream craft. Some of the most successful boats are not designed by naval architects, but dreamed up by skippers and built in their own backyards. 15 boats have been built from this mold, 8 of them champions. This skipper and master helmsman is building the 16th boat from his own mold. Before a boat is accepted for racing, she must be officially measured. No boat may measure more than 18 feet from stem to transom, or less than 17 feet 9 inches. The decking must not be more than 9 inches wide, the beam a minimum of 6 feet, the minimum depth amidships 20 inches. Her lines must all be fair curves and the sheer a continuous concave. Chines are not allowed. She must be an open boat. The aluminium mast is 28 feet high and the boom of the same material 14 or 15 feet long. She is allowed to carry an unlimited area of sail. Sails are made of synthetic material, which varies in weight from about 3/4 of an ounce per square yard for spinnakers to between 3½ and 5 ounces for jibs and mainsails. Clear windows are often cut into sails to allow the helmsman a view to leeward and ahead. When an 18-footer is brought from the clubhouse or private boat shed before a race, she is always in a stripped condition and must be completely re-rigged. It takes quite a while to do this and to get her into tune again. In 18-footer racing, all other things being equal, which of course they never are, it's the lightest boat that leads the field. If you are determined to win, you must be prepared to accept a slender margin of safety in your gear and a short life for your boat. Collisions smash great holes in a hull, and costly repairs have to be made. Altogether, the upkeep of an 18-footer is pretty high, and as a result, symbols on the sails often represent Australian and international firms whose sponsorship helps skippers to pay for building and maintaining their boats. In return, the business houses get advertising value and considerable prestige from this display of their emblems. Because there is no restriction on the sail area of 18-footers, every skipper naturally carries as much sail as he dares. This means that when the boats are running downwind with their fins raised, they have very little stability, and the slightest error by crew or helmsman will capsize them. The 18s always start, no matter how bad the weather, but not all of them may stay right side up long enough to finish. When a sudden squall buffets the fleet, there are often scores of men in the water at the same time, and it may take an hour or so to get around to everyone in trouble. So it's just as well that the summer temperature of the sea off Sydney is never much below 70 degrees Fahrenheit. Pickup boats rescue the unlucky ones, and the sails keep sharks away. At least that's the theory, and in all the years men have been racing on Sydney Harbour, no one has ever been attacked on a capsized sailing boat. It's quite possible to right a capsized boat and bail her out, but of course it takes far too long to allow her the slightest hope of getting back into the race. 18-footer racing has spread from Australia to Fiji and New Zealand. When Sydney plays host to the World Championship Series, boats may be shipped from Suva and Auckland to compete. Christmas in Australia occurs in midsummer, and the day after Christmas marks the start of the Sydney-Hobart yacht race. All Sydney turns out to watch the big ocean-going yachts begin their 600 miles thrash south to Tasmania in this annual offshore classic. With the exception of this one day of the year, the 18-footers have by far the largest gallery of spectators on Sydney Harbour. Ferries carry their full complements of knowledgeable fans. Though betting on board is illegal and officially frowned on by the 18-footer clubs, it's almost impossible to prevent Australians from having a small gamble on their favourites. Nobody takes this very seriously, but the water police do make a token raid about once a season. There are 6 different courses sailed in 18-footer racing on the harbour, each chosen to suit a particular wind direction. prevailing wind is confirmed 15 minutes before the start of a race and the selected course number displayed on the starter's boat. 5 minutes before a race starts, a gun is fired and the 5-minute flag hoisted. In handicap events, boats cross the line when the number is dropped. The starter encourages them over a loud hailer.
Hello, boys. Handicap race. Number 6 course.
Championships are started from scratch by a gun.
Outside, high water, 3:53 p.m.
From the moment the starting gun barks, nothing else matters for the next hour and a half but getting your boat across the line first. You'll be wet, cold and exhausted. You'll pour out every ounce of energy and skill in your body, but you'll be conscious of none of these trifles till the finishing gun.
The guard is coming up. He should be around the mark any time now. Dolphin was coming up now on the George's Head shore. A little bit slow on the boat getting that spinnaker out.
The press is a keen supporter of 18-footer racing, and Sydney's 2 evening newspapers are rivals on the water as well as in the city.
Going nice.